A second ago, you stood at the summit all of humanity dreamed of. You touched the clouds, and the sky decided to answer. At that moment, thousands of people below fell silent. Not because they had nothing to say, but because their words turned into noise. It was the first systemic crash in human history. God didn't destroy the walls. He destroyed understanding. What really happened at the top of Babylon? Was it a punishment or a necessary measure to stop something much worse? Imagine a world where everyone speaks the same language. No translators, no misunderstandings, no barriers between people. Every thought is instantly understood by everyone else. And at some point, humanity decides to rise beyond its limits, to build a tower that reaches the heavens. Sounds like the beginning of a great breakthrough, or a great turning point. Today we're diving into one of the most mysterious and symbolic myths of the ancient world, the story of the Tower of Babel. After the Great Flood, according to ancient tradition, humanity spread across the earth once again. But this time, they were more united than ever. One language, one set of words, one shared understanding of the world. It was an age when humanity felt almost unstoppable. They moved together as one until they found a fertile plain. There, among rivers and rich soil, they chose to settle. This place became the foundation of a new civilization. But as their settlements grew, a new idea emerged, an idea that would change everything. The people said to one another, "Let us build a city and a tower whose top reaches the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves so we remain united." At first glance, it sounds like a simple desire to leave a mark on history. But if you look closer, it was more than construction. It was a challenge to nature, a challenge to the unknown. In those days, people did not yet use stone the way we know it. They made bricks from clay and hardened them in fire. Instead of mortar, they used bitumen. Simple methods, yet effective. And so the work began. Thousands of people, united by a single purpose, labored day after day. The tower grew, slowly at first, then faster. With each new level, they rose higher above the ground. From that height, they could see what once seemed unreachable. The horizon expanded. The world felt within their grasp, and perhaps in that moment, a new thought took root in their minds. We can achieve anything. But in ancient myths, there is a pattern. When people begin to feel limitless, something shifts. According to the legend, higher forces noticed what was happening. They observed the rising structure and the changing mindset of the people, no longer just creators, but those striving to rise above everything. And so a decision was made, not to destroy the tower, not to erase humanity, but to do something far more subtle and far more effective. In a single moment, everything changed. People who had once understood each other perfectly suddenly lost that connection. One speaks, another cannot understand. A third responds, but their words sound unfamiliar and confusing. Chaos began. Workers could no longer coordinate. Builders could not follow instructions. Even the simplest tasks became difficult. Imagine standing among hundreds of people who were once your allies, and suddenly you can no longer understand a single one of them. This wasn't just inconvenience. It was disorientation, a loss of connection. Construction stopped. The tower that was meant to symbolize greatness became a symbol of incompletion. People began to scatter. In small groups, those who could still somewhat understand each other moved off in different directions, carrying their new languages with them. And so, according to the myth, the many nations of the world were born. And the many languages. The city itself was given a name tied to this event, a reminder of the moment when humanity's single voice divided into many. But what does this story really mean? If we look deeper, this is not just a tale about a tower. It's a story about limits, about the line between ambition and excessive pride. People wanted to create something great. They wanted unity, and there is nothing wrong with that. But at some point, the goal shifted. It was no longer about creation, but about rising above everything. What makes this myth especially fascinating is how relevant it still feels today. We are still building our own towers, technology, cities, global systems. We are more connected than ever before. And yet, we often fail to understand each other. Different languages are no longer just about words. They are about perspectives, cultures, beliefs. And sometimes it feels like we are back on that same construction site, trying to communicate, but missing the meaning. There is another detail that is often overlooked. The tower was never destroyed. It was simply abandoned, which means the real reason it stopped was not force, but the loss of connection between people, not something from above, but the inability to understand one another. Perhaps the real lesson of this myth is this: human strength does not lie in how high we build, but in our ability to share meaning, to listen, to understand, to remain united, even in our differences. And still, one question remains. If humanity had finished the tower, what would have happened next? Would they have reached the heavens, or discovered that the true limits were never where they thought they were?